Static hum surges wild, wild. Voices crash like thunder smiles. We dive into the madness quake. Super Gringo set to break. Worlds on fire, cables melt. Desperate words, the truth they spell. Through the chaos we blast fears, burning bright, no time to pierce. Welcome to the Super Gringo. Madness, love, we never slow. Tune in, let your spirit scream. We shatter through the mainstream. Dust of lies in your face. Rip apart this broken place. Microphones and bitter nights. We turn the dark into light. Feel the pulse, electric beats. Riding high on discord streets. Voices raw and vision stark. Super Gringo leaves its mark. Echoes stretch through neon lights. We ride the storm, fight the fight. Tales untold, we break them free. Super Gringo, wild and free. Welcome to the Super Gringo. Madness, love, we never slow. Tune and let your spirit scream. We shatter through the mainstream. Welcome to the Super Gringo. Madness, love, we never slow. Tune and let your spirit scream. We shatter through the mainstream. Dust of lies in your face. Rip apart this broken place. Microphones and bitter nights. We turn the dark into light. Dust of lies in your face. Rip apart this broken place. Microphones and bitter nights. We turn the dark into light. Feel the pulse, electric beats. Riding high on discord streets. Voices raw and vision stark. Super Gringo leaves its mark. Echoes to the Super Gringo.
Welcome to the Super Gringo podcast, where we transform the whirlwind of current events into a captivating adventure. First, we're going to talk about lawfare, where the loony left hasn't quite figured out that in this grand game of political chess, things can go both ways, like a boomerang on a bungee cord. Picture it, they whip up their legal antics, thinking they're pulling off some kind of avant-garde performance art, but little do they know that the other side is just waiting with a bucket of popcorn and a well-aimed countersuit. It's as if they believe the courtroom is their personal stage for a dramatic monologue. While the opposition is busy crafting an Oscar-worthy screenplay titled You Can't Handle the Truth or The Lawsuit, the irony is rich. One moment they're throwing around legal jargon like confetti at a parade, and the next they're dodging lawsuits like it's an Olympic sport. So while they're busy trying to outsmart the system with their elaborate plans to win through litigation, someone else might be plotting their own comeback, ready to flip the script faster than you can say subpoena. In this wild west of legal maneuvering, it turns out that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Who knew physics could apply to politics too? But wait, there's more. As we navigate this circus of American politics, from J.D. Vance's controversial mansplaining to the shadowy figures behind electoral meddling in Brazil, one burning question remains: who is really pulling the strings in this grand performance? Join us on this exhilarating ride and let's uncover the absurdity that shapes our lives. Because in a world where even cats might be plotting world domination, every moment is ripe for exploration and laughter. What if I told you that the very tactics being used to drag former President Donald Trump through the courts could one day be turned against his opponents? In recent years, we have witnessed an unprecedented escalation in the legal strategies employed by various political factions, after often blurring the lines between judicial accountability and political warfare. The relentless pursuit of legal action against Trump, from accusations of financial impropriety to allegations of incitement, has set a precarious precedent. This litigation strategy, while aimed at dismantling Trump's political influence, could easily be repurposed as a weapon against his adversaries should the political winds shift. Imagine a scenario where future leaders, emboldened by the model of aggressive legal maneuvering, leverage similar tactics to target dissenters or rivals within their own ranks. Such a cycle of retaliatory litigation could only erode trust in the judicial system, but also create a hostile environment where political discourse is stifled by fear of legal repercussions. As history has shown us, the tools of power can be wielded both ways. Thus, what appears as a method to uphold justice today might morph into an instrument of oppression tomorrow. This possibility invites us to critically examine our current practices and consider the long-term implications of weaponizing the legal system in a deeply polarized political landscape. In today's political arena, lawfare, the strategic use of legal systems to achieve political objectives, has emerged as a formidable weapon of choice among various factions vying for power. This phenomenon transcends mere litigation. It embodies a calculated maneuver to manipulate the law itself as an instrument of influence and control. Politicians and interest groups are increasingly leveraging legal frameworks to undermine opponents, shape public narratives, and secure advantageous positions, all while cloaked in the legitimacy of judicial processes. This shift raises critical questions about the integrity of our constitutional institutions. Are we heading towards a dangerous precedent where legal battles overshadow substantive political discourse? Furthermore, could this tactic erode the very foundation of democracy by weaponizing laws against dissenting voices and stifling legitimate opposition? Brazil. The implications are profound. As the line between justice and political strategy blurs, the potential for abuse increases. Brazil. Threatening not only the fairness of legal systems, but also public trust in governance. Such developments compel us to reflect on the ethical ramifications of lawfare and its capacity to transform the landscape of political engagement into a battleground where victory is measured not by votes cast, but by court rulings secured. 34 felonies. Lawfare is a multifaceted concept that transcends the mere act of litigation, embodying a strategic deployment of legal mechanisms to achieve broader political and social objectives. It involves not only the use of law as a weapon against opponents, but also encompasses tactics designed to erode their credibility and obstruct their governance capabilities. Impeachments. In this sense, lawfare can be likened to a complex chess game where each move is meticulously calculated. Every legal maneuver aims to destabilize the adversary's position while fortifying one's own. For instance, public figures might face lawsuits that are strategically timed to coincide with critical moments in their careers, such as elections or policy announcements, thereby casting doubt on their integrity and leadership. Kavanaugh. Additionally, lawfare can manifest in campaigns that exploit legal frameworks to stifle dissent or silence opposition voices, raising ethical questions about the manipulation of justice for political gain. This practice highlights the intersection of law and politics, revealing how legal institutions can be weaponized in the pursuit of power rather than justice. Consequently, understanding lawfare requires a nuanced examination of its implications in constitutional processes and societal trust in legal systems, emphasizing the importance of vigilance against its potential misuse in contemporary governance. The current legal battles surrounding Trump illustrate this perfectly, revealing a complex interplay of political strategy and judicial maneuvering. Like the New York case, you actually had to bend yourself into a pretzel to figure out what the crime was. His opponents have employed various legal tactics, ranging from civil lawsuits to extensive criminal investigations, all designed to distract and politically weaken him in a highly charged electoral environment. These actions serve not only to cast a shadow over his public persona, but also to galvanize his base by portraying him as a victim of a politicized justice system. However, the implications of such tactics raise significant questions about the ethical boundaries of using legal frameworks as instruments of political warfare. Excuse me. What happens when these same legal strategies are turned against those varying opponents? This scenario is not merely hypothetical, it reflects a broader concern about the potential for political retaliation through the judiciary. For instance, should the tables turn, it's conceivable that accusations could arise regarding misuse of power or even corruption within the ranks of those currently seeking to undermine Trump. Such a tit-for-tat dynamic could erode public trust in the legal system itself, transforming courts into battlegrounds rather than sanctuaries for justice. This cyclical nature of political retribution underscores the urgent need for clarity and integrity within our legal institutions to ensure they do not become pawns in an ongoing partisan struggle, but instead uphold the rule of law impartially for all involved. Imagine a future where every political rival devolves into courtroom battles, transforming the landscape of governance into a legal battleground. How many times did Trump get sued from California, of all places? In such a scenario, politicians should find themselves ensnared in an endless web of lawsuits, facing litigation not merely for corruption or misconduct, but simply for holding specific beliefs or advocating particular policies. Immigration law. This phenomenon is not purely hypothetical. It is already unfolding in various regions where the contentious nature of political discourse has led to an uptick in legal actions against public figures. For instance, in some states, politicians who support controversial legislation on issues like climate change or immigration have faced lawsuits initiated by opponents claiming that these policies infringe upon personal freedoms or cause economic harm. Such developments raise critical questions about the implications for constitutional discourse and the very essence of political engagement. If political ideologies can be litigated in courts rather than debated in public forums, the results may be a chilling effect on free speech and policy innovation. Furthermore, this trend could exacerbate polarization as political adversaries turn to legal mechanisms as tools for undermining each other rather than seeking common ground. Ultimately, this shift from debate to litigation poses significant risk to the foundational principles of democracy and could redefine how we understand accountability and representation in the modern age. The implications of this situation are staggering and extend far beyond mere legalities. They strike at the very heart of our constitutional principles. First and foremost, the chilling effect on free speech cannot be overstated. Politicians, once bold in their expression of controversial views, may now find themselves second-guessing every word they utter, fearing that a misstep could lead to a legal battle instead of a healthy debate. This self-censorship stifles innovation and diversity of thought. There's that word, diversity. Essential ingredients for a vibrant democracy. Moreover, an erosion of trust is inevitable when citizens witness their leaders, representatives, prioritizing courtroom appearances over substantive governance. When political discourse devolves into a series of legal skirmishes, it breeds cynicism among the populace, who may come to view their representatives not as public servants, but as individuals more concerned with self-preservation than collective progress. Finally, the weaponization of the judiciary poses a grave threat to the balance of power within our society. Courts could morph into battlegrounds where ideological differences are settled not through dialogue or legislation, but through litigation, tipping the scales in favor of those with greater resources to engage in prolonged legal warfare. This shift undermines the very foundation of justice and fairness that our legal system is built upon, perpetuating an imbalance that could disenfranchise entire segments of the population. In sum, these developments collectively threaten to unravel the fabric of our democracy, leaving us to ponder what kind of future we are shaping for ourselves and generations to come. As lawfare becomes increasingly normalized within contemporary political and social landscapes, the cycle of retribution intensifies, creating a pernicious environment that undermines conflict resolution. The strategic use of legal tactics, where one party weaponizes the law to achieve its end, sets a dangerous precedent that others are likely to emulate. This imitation not only escalates the disputes, but also transforms them into protracted legal battles, diverting attention from substantive dialogue and compromise. For instance, when corporations or political factions engage in litigation as a primary tool for settling scores or advancing agendas, they effectively institutionalize a form of warfare that prioritizes procedural victories over constructive engagement. Consequently, rather than fostering an environment conducive to negotiation and understanding, such practices lead to an escalating arms race of lawsuits and countersuits, entrenching animosities and deepening divisions. The implications are profound. Communities become polarized, trust erodes, and the very fabric of societal discourse frays under the weight of incessant legal skirmishes. Ultimately, this normalization of warfare not only challenges our perceptions of justice, but also raises critical questions about the efficacy of our legal system in serving as a mechanism for peace rather than tools for perpetuating conflict. The cycle can lead to a troubling polarization that deeply fractures our society. As political factions become increasingly entrenched in their positions, the perception of the opposing side shifts from one of fellow citizens engaged in a spirited debate to that of adversaries, almost akin to enemies. This transformation fosters an environment where compromise is viewed as weakness and dialogue is replaced by vitriol. Carrot head. In such an atmosphere, it becomes alarmingly easy for individuals to dehumanize those who hold differing beliefs, creating echo chambers that amplify mistrust and animosity. Moreover, this polarization doesn't just affect interpersonal relationships. It seeps into our institutions, eroding public confidence in the very frameworks meant to uphold justice and democracy. When courts and legal bodies are perceived as mere extensions of political agendas rather than impartial arbiters of law, the result is a significant decline in trust among citizens. People begin to question the integrity of decisions made by these institutions, fearing they serve not the common good but partisan interests. This erosion of trust can have dire consequences. Without faith in our judicial system. Citizens may feel compelled to take matters into their own hands or disengage entirely from civic participation. Ultimately, such dynamics threaten the very foundation of our democracy, underscoring the urgent need for renewed commitment to civil discourse and institutional integrity if we hope to bridge these divides and restore faith in our shared governance. Navigating the chaotic landscape of our current political climate demands a multifaceted approach, one that not only addresses the immediate challenges, but also lays the groundwork for a more resilient democracy. First and foremost, we must advocate for comprehensive legal reform aimed at preventing the abuse of our judicial system for political gain. This means pushing for legislation that safeguards the integrity of our courts and ensures they remain impartial bastions of justice rather than tools for partisan warfare. In tandem with this, fostering bipartisanship is crucial. We must build coalitions across party lines dedicated to protecting our constitutional values. I'm sorry, I will never agree with someone who thinks grooming and castrating kids is good for them. By uniting diverse voices, we can create a robust front against the forces that seek to undermine our institutions. Additionally, educating citizens about the dangers of lawfare, where legal systems are weaponized to achieve political objectives, is imperative. A well-informed electorate is our best defense against manipulation. When voters understand the implications of such tactics, they are empowered to make choices that reflect their commitment to democracy rather than divisive agendas. Together, these strategies form a comprehensive framework through which we can reclaim our political landscape from chaos and restore faith in the very system designed to serve us all. In a world where political warfare has become the prevailing strategy for securing power and influence, it is imperative that all participants in this arena tread carefully. The tactics currently employed against former President Trump, ranging from aggressive media campaigns to intricate legal maneuvers, represent a double-edged sword that could just as easily be wielded against his opponents, potentially ensnaring everyone involved in the political landscape. This precarious dynamic underscores a fundamental truth about modern politics. The very strategies that are designed to dismantle an adversary can swiftly backfire, creating a cycle of retribution and escalating hostility. For instance, as accusations of misconduct proliferate against one side, there is an ever-present risk that similar allegations will emerge in response, thus perpetuating a culture of mutual suspicion and animosity. Furthermore, this trend fosters an environment where public trust erodes as citizens become disillusioned by the constant barrage of attacks and counterattacks, leading to increased polarization. In such a climate, it becomes crucial for political actors to reconsider their approaches, rather than engaging in destructive tactics that undermine constitutional principles. They should seek dialogue and understanding. Ultimately, while the allure of political warfare may seem enticing for short-term gains, its long-term implications threaten not only individual careers, but also the integrity of the political system as a whole. As citizens and stewards of democracy, we must critically assess whether the current trajectory of our political landscape is steering us toward genuine progress, or conversely, into a quagmire of perilous implications. This moment demands our vigilance. We cannot afford to be passive observers as the mechanisms of lawfare, where legal systems are manipulated for strategic advantage, threaten the very foundation of our constitutional principles. History offers cautionary tales where the erosion of civil liberties under the guise of legal proceedings has led to authoritarianism and social unrest. For instance, in recent years, we've witnessed instances where judicial processes were employed not to uphold justice but to silence dissenting voices, undermining public trust in institutions that are meant to serve the common good. Thus, it becomes imperative for us to engage actively in discourse and advocacy, ensuring that transparency, accountability, and fairness remain at the forefront of our governance by fostering an informed citizenry and encouraging robust debate about the implications of lawfare on societal norms. We can safeguard our constitutional ideas against encroachment and ensure that they thrive even amidst the chaos that may arise in turbulent times. Stay informed and engaged. The Republic depends on it. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. I know that's a long one. I wrote that script, by the way. As I said in the last podcast, I'm going to start talking up to my intellect and not down to everyone else's. Excuse me. Yes, I guess the left has not figured out that what they're doing now can and probably will be turned against them. Although I believe there are sufficient charges to where it would not be lawfare, it would actually be enforcing the law. Take, for example, the Steele dossier, which was made up, which they swore in front of Congress under oath, which in where I come from is called perjury, but whatever. Anyway, moving along.
He walked into the bar with a swaggering grin, claiming he knew every trick to win. Told Becky about engines, though she builds cars. Bet she could take him down to the parts. He said, darn, the let me show you the ropes. How to cast that line or tie up a boat. But Sally, she grew up right by the lake. She taught him a thing or two, for heaven's sake. Mansplaining, oh, it's a sight to behold. Ain't nothing like watching a tall tale unfold. It's laughable, honey, when they think they're so wise. Mansplaining with that twinkle in their eyes. He pulled up a stool, started talking about Bruce. Sarah works the distillery, she pays her dues. But he just kept on about hops and malt. She smiled knowingly, wasn't her fault. In the courtroom he bragged about a legal twist. Tina's the star attorney on the top lawyers list. But he laid out the law while she nodded her head. He didn't realize he was 3 steps ahead. Mansplaining, oh, it's his comedy gold. Watch him dig a deeper hole. Preaching to experts, thinking they're mine. Mansplaining, oh, what a find. He said, darling, let me show you the ropes. How to cast out a line or tie up a boat. But Sally, she grew up right by the lake. She taught him a thing or two, for heaven's sake. Mansplaining, oh, it's a sight to behold. Ain't nothing like watching a tall tale unfold. It's laughable, honey, when they think they're so wise. Mansplaining with that twinkle in their eyes.
On a recent episode of MSNBC, the host took it upon herself to accuse J.D. Vance of mansplaining, an accusation that felt as misplaced as a cat at a dog show. Vance had the audacity to correct one of the debate moderators who, bless her heart, had mistakenly claimed that refugees are legal immigrants. Now, let's unpack this delightful little mix-up. Refugees aren't legal immigrants until they've been in the country for a year and applied for legal status. A legal immigrant, on the other hand, wouldn't need to apply because, wait for it, they're already legal. It's like saying a cat is a dog just because they both have fur. It simply doesn't add up. I've tried countless times to share this nugget of wisdom with the Harris Walls Brigade, who seem convinced that Vance spun some mythical yarn about immigration, yet none can actually point out any alleged lie. It's like trying to convince someone that unicorns don't exist when they're busy staring at an empty field. So here we are, stuck in a comedy of errors where facts are treated like elusive Pokemon. Everyone knows they're out there, but no one can seem to catch them. Vance dove headfirst into the topic of immigration, and let me tell you, it's a circus under the Harris-Biden administration, complete with clowns and more than a few red noses. Now, I notice I mentioned Kamala first. That's not just a slip of the tongue. She's currently auditioning for the lead role in President, the sequel, after pulling off a masterclass in backstabbing her boss. It's like watching a soap opera with the plot twists are as frequent as Biden's gaffes. And while I'm not exactly putting Biden on a pedestal, he's more of a sitting down kind of guy these days. It's hilarious how they're all playing cover-up like it was some high-stakes game of hide-and-seek. But once the truth about his mental acuity slipped out like a toddler escaping from timeout, they decided to throw him under the bus faster than you could say midterms. So here we are, folks, in a political comedy where the punchlines write themselves. And if you're not laughing, you might just be crying over what's become of our representation. However, debates aren't supposed to be fact-check sessions. They're more like a high-stakes game of verbal dodgeball, where candidates hurl their positions at one another while ducking and weaving to avoid getting hit by inconvenient truths. It's the ultimate reality show where viewers are left to sift through the chaos and decide which contestant's version of reality they're going to believe, much like choosing between a double chocolate fudge or mysterious green sludge dessert at a questionable diner. And let's be honest, it would be real helpful if the fact checkers were actually true, which they often resemble more of a creative writing exercise than a factual account. You've got one candidate claiming they single-handedly saved a kitten from a tree, while their opponent insists that the tree was never there to begin with. It's like watching a circus where everyone has forgotten the script And instead of acrobats and clowns, we have politicians juggling up in half-truths and exaggerations. So as we sit back with our popcorn, it's all about picking your favorite act. Even if you know that somewhere in the mix, the truth is doing an awkward dance behind the scenes, hoping someone will notice it before the next commercial break. In our last podcast episode, Vance valiantly attempted to shed light on Minnesota's abortion laws, but it was like trying to explain quantum physics to a cat. No one was really paying attention. Picture this: moderators buzzing around like over-caffeinated bees, constantly interrupting him as if he were an amateur magician revealing the secret behind his tricks. But here's the kicker: Vance was absolutely correct. In Minnesota, there are no limits on abortion, which means you could theoretically decide to take a detour and get an abortion right up until the moment you're about to deliver. Talk about a dramatic entrance. And just when you think you couldn't get any wilder, consider this. There were 3 reported cases of babies born alive who met untimely fates afterwards. Can't use the other word, YouTube. It sounds like the plot twist of a horror film, right? After those incidents raised eyebrows and more than a few concerned gasps, Governor Tim Walz swooped in like a superhero, cape optional, and signed legislation that made those cases disappear from the reporting books. It's almost as if they decided that ignorance is bliss. If we don't talk about it, does it even exist? So there you have it, folks, the complex world of Minnesota's abortion laws, where reality sometimes feels stranger than fiction. And Vance is left waving his arms like an excited traffic cop trying to direct chaos. So no, Vance was not mansplaining. He was just trying to tell the truth over a bunch of liars. And honestly, it was like watching a lone knight in shining armor try to defend a castle filled with jesters. Picture this: Vance, armed with nothing but his trusty facts and an unwavering sense of justice, stood at the center of chaotic debate where everyone else seemed to be auditioning for the role of most creative storyteller. As they spun their web of tall tales and half-truths with all the finesse of a circus performer juggling flaming torches, Vance valiantly attempted to cut through the smoke and mirrors, like a bewildered musician who accidentally revealed his own tricks, while the others danced around with their wild exaggerations, one claiming he could run a marathon while knitting a sweater. Vance simply wanted to point out that, contrary to popular belief, water is indeed wet, and not some mythical substance concocted by ancient alchemists. Sure, he might have come off as slightly pedantic in his quest for clarity amidst the pandemonium, but let's be real. In a world of smoke and mirrors, sometimes you just need someone to blow out the candle so everyone can see what's really going on. So here's to Vance, the truth teller in a sea of embellishers, who bravely faced the absurdity with the seriousness of a cat contemplating its next nap. Now, a word from our sponsors. Me. Grumpy sells t-shirts, I write and sell books. Links are in the description. Run over and get yourself a copy of whatever interests you.
Drawing on over 4 decades of military and executive protection expertise, this book represents the culmination of the author's comprehensive training in firearms and combat strategies. With first-hand experience as a rifleman, sniper, machine gunner, and M1 tank crewman in Iraq and Afghanistan, the author offers invaluable insights for self-defense. By emphasizing the significance of training under duress, the book aims to enhance your skills so that in high-stress scenarios, you can depend on your training to protect yourself and others. The author's background in the Department of Defense Police Department provides a unique perspective in preparing individuals to serve as
have a question. Who's running the country? Ever since Kamala became candidate for president, we've seen Biden what? Twice? It's like he's playing an extreme game of hide and seek but forgot to tell anyone he's seeking. Meanwhile, the world is throwing hurricanes at us like they're trying to win a prize for best disaster. And let's not even get started on the escalating wars that seem to be popping up like weeds in a neglected garden. Seriously, where's the President of the United States? I mean, last I checked, he wasn't off chasing Pokemon or binging on reality TV, though that might be more reassuring than watching Kamala out there on the campaign trail. She's hustling hard, making appearances on talk shows where her jokes land flatter than a pancake after a bad flipping session. One minute she's discussing policy, and the next she's trying to pull off a stand-up routine that would even make the most forgiving heckler cringe. So here we are, folks. While chaos reigns and our leaders seem busier with their media tours than actually leading, one can't help but wonder if there's an alternative universe where someone else is at the helm, or if we just accidentally tuned into an extended season of America's Funniest Home Videos. Where is Joe Biden? The ever-elusive President of the United States. Probably busy navigating the complex labyrinth of politics, or perhaps just trying to remember where he left his glasses. Now, let's dive into this delightful mess. Could there be a hint of bitterness brewing beneath those aviator shades after being metaphorically thrown under the bus? Don't get me wrong, I'm not exactly a fan waving pom-poms here, but it's hard to ignore that Kamala Harris didn't snag a single primary vote. I mean, that's like showing up to a potluck with an empty dish and expecting compliments. Just think about the irony. The loony left rallied behind a guy who might have mistaken the White House for a retirement home. Yes, I'm talking about good old Joe, who occasionally forgets what day it is, and now they want us to rally behind the woman who was left in the dust by this very same Alzheimer's-riddled champion. So, let's recap. We're being asked to throw our support behind the runner-up from the last time against a sitting president who may or may not confuse his own staff with his grandchildren. It's like being offered stale bread when you were hoping for fresh-baked cookies. What a world we live in, where political strategy sometimes feels more like a game of musical chairs played by folks who might just forget their seats. However, I digress. Where is Joe Biden? Seriously, feels like he's playing a game of hide and seek with the nation, and frankly, I think he's winning. Who is running the country while he's off who knows where, sipping coffee with a side of confusion? Are we sure there isn't a secret cabal of squirrels in the Oval Office making all the big decisions? I mean, we're sending billions, yes, with a B, to Ukraine and Israel, but who's actually signing off on those checks? Is there a mysterious intern in the basement just rubber stamping everything like it's a clearance sale at Target? Does Joe even realize he's authorized that much cash flow? Or does he think he's just approving some random TikTok ad for cat sweaters? If only we could get an update from him, preferably not in the form of an unhinged tweet or a press conference where he accidentally starts discussing his favorite ice cream flavors instead of foreign policy. It's a wild world out there, folks, and sometimes it feels like we're all just waiting for Joe to find his way back to the map. Should they really institute the 25th Amendment? I mean, that would catapult Kamala Harris into the presidential seat faster than you can say executive order, and suddenly we'd have a situation where the Speaker of the House, who just happens to be a Republican, would find themselves in the vice presidential hot seat. Could you imagine the awkward Thanksgiving dinners? So, how's your day job as second in command going? And let's not even get started on the potential for some truly bizarre policy debates. I can see it now. Mr. Speaker, do we really need to discuss the merits of pumpkin spice lattes in our next budget meeting? It's clear that invoking the 25th Amendment could lead to some hilarious moments and an unexpected game of political musical chairs, but perhaps that's exactly why they're hesitant to pull the trigger, because nothing says bipartisan cooperation like a Republican vice president accidentally trying to pass legislation on holiday decorations. So, while we ponder this political puzzle, one thing remains certain. Politics is less about who sits where and more about how many cups of coffee it takes to keep everyone sane. So if anybody can figure out who's running the country, could you give me a heads up? I mean, seriously, it feels like we're all part of a reality show where the producers forgot to inform us who the star is. One minute it's politicians making grand promises like they're offering free samples at a grocery store, and the next it's corporate moguls pulling strings in the background like they're auditioning for a puppet master role. It's almost as if we stumbled into an episode of Survivor Capital Edition, where alliances are formed over coffee breaks and betrayals are whispered behind closed doors. And don't even get me started on the media. One day they're calling someone a hero, the next day they're dragging their name through the mud like a kid in a mud pie competition. So, if anyone has any clues, maybe you've got a secret decoder ring or an insider tip from your neighbor's cat, please share. Because at this point, I'd settle for just knowing who's in charge so I can send them my list of demands. Free pizza Fridays and mandatory nap time. Did the United States interfere in Brazil's election? The simple answer is a resounding yes, and the implications are as convoluted as they are alarming. High-ranking officials from both the White House and the Defense Department found themselves traversing the political landscape of Brazil, wielding their influence like a double-edged sword. Were they openly threatening military intervention? While they may not have donned uniforms or brandished weapons, the machinations were unmistakably coercive. State Department representatives and even operatives from the CIA engaged in clandestine meetings with Brazilian officials, making it clear that non-compliance would lead to dire consequences. They issued chilling warnings to Jair Bolsonaro, cautioning that failure to certify the election could unleash chaos upon his presidency. Bad things would happen. They insisted as if they were conjuring dark omens from a dystopian playbook. This isn't just foreign meddling, it's a brazen attempt to pull strings behind the curtain of democracy, showcasing how power dynamics can twist and warp electoral integrity into a mere puppet show. In this high-stakes game of geopolitical chess, Brazil was caught in a web spun by outside forces determined to shape its destiny according to their own whims and interests. My question is, with Lula being a Chinese puppet, why would the Biden administration be so hell-bent on making sure Lula got elected? It's like watching a high-stakes game of political chess where every move seems to be orchestrated in Beijing. The same goes for Bernie Sanders. His involvement raises eyebrows as well, another supposed surrogate of China nestled within the U.S. government. Why this fervor for electing a president with such strong ties to a nation that many see as a strategic rival? It's not just about ideology, it's about power dynamics and influence on the global stage. Now we know Biden has received financial backing from China, which begs the question, could this be his way of returning the favor? The dots connect alarmingly well, painting a picture of mutual benefit between these leaders and an authoritarian regime that thrives on exerting its reach. And then there's Bernie, the self-proclaimed socialist whose affinity for communism aligns neatly with China's governance model. No need for an extensive investigation here. The parallels are glaring. It's almost as if we're witnessing an insidious alliance forming right before our eyes. One that could have profound implications not just for Brazil, but for global geopolitics as well. Geopolitics at large. In this tangled web of alliances and interest, one can't help but wonder who really pulls the strings and what sacrifices are being made on the altar of ambition and ideological kinship. Excuse me. So, while Americans are caught up in a frenzy of accusations about Russian collusion and an array of fabricated narratives surrounding interference in their elections, it might be worth considering whether the United States should take a step back from meddling in the democratic processes of other nations. Just look at Brazil, where tensions escalated to a boiling point, culminating in the shocking destruction of their Capitol building. A stark reminder that political discontent can spiral out of control when external influences intrude. The aftermath saw the Brazilian government cracking down with stringent censorship measures aimed at silencing dissenting voices, leading to a chilling effect on free speech. This is evident in the banishment of platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter, from Brazilian cyberspace, a drastic move reflecting the lengths to which authorities will go to suppress dissent. It begs the question, are we truly champions of democracy when our own actions contribute to chaos abroad? Perhaps it's time for America to rethink its role in the global stage and recognize that every nation deserves the autonomy to navigate its political landscape without foreign interference. Why is the CIA poking its nose into another country's elections, you ask? Well, let's unpack that. If Lula had emerged victorious in Brazil, it would have been like handing over the keys to the kingdom to China, a nation eager to wrap its arms around Brazil, showering it with promises of investment and partnership that often come with a hefty price tag. Picture this. Brazil, initially basking in the glow of Chinese affection, quickly finds itself stripped of its natural resources and technological innovations, reduced to an economic state as grim as Cuba's. It's a classic tale of exploitation masked as friendship, where the allure of quick gains leads to long-term dependency and degradation. Wouldn't it be refreshing if the United States took a back seat for once and allowed nations to navigate their own destinies without external interference? After all, meddling in foreign politics rarely ends well. It's like trying to fix a delicate clock while wearing boxing gloves, inevitably leading to chaos rather than harmony. The audacity of powerful nations to dictate terms in other affairs not only undermines sovereignty, but also perpetuates a cycle of distrust and resentment. So maybe, just maybe, it's time for a little less intervention and a lot more respect for self-determination. Do you know how the military government came to power in Brazil? That's right. The United States and the CIA played a significant role in this dramatic shift. During the presidency of João Goulart from 1961 to 1964, relations between Brazil and the United States began to fray, fueled by Goulart's leftist policies and his inclination towards social reform that alarmed American interest in the region. As tensions escalated, the U.S. grew increasingly uneasy, viewing Goulart's administration as a potential breeding ground for communism, a fear that was all too prevalent during the Cold War era. This culminated in American backing for a coup d'etat in 1964, which effectively ousted Goulart and ushered in a repressive military regime that would last for over 2 decades. So when we ponder whether our nation interferes in other countries' elections, it begs the question, shouldn't we expect those nations to return the favor? After all, if it's fair to play on the global stage for powerful nations to meddle in the democratic processes of others, why wouldn't these same nations want a say in our own electoral affairs? It's a double-edged sword. While we impose our will abroad, we must brace ourselves for the consequences that might come knocking at our own door. Fair is fair, right?
Am I the only one who didn't know this? Becoming a pro shooter isn't just about pulling the trigger, it's about mastering every aspect of self-defense. In tactical training with firearms, Sean Armstrong takes you beyond the basics. From choosing the perfect self-defense firearm and holster to honing your shooting skills, this book covers it all. Sean's lifelong dedication to self-defense shines through as he breaks down the essentials like ammunition selection, close quarters combat techniques, and integrating combatives into your training. But that's not all. He even dives into the nitty-gritty of today's firearm and gear options, helping you make smart purchase decisions tailored to your lifestyle. The best defense is being prepared, and with Sean Armstrong's expertise, you'll be ready to protect yourself and your loved ones in any situation. So, are you ready to transform from a sheep to a sheepdog? Grab your copy now and start your journey to becoming a proficient shooter today. Because when it comes to self-defense, knowledge is your greatest weapon.
Figured I'd share at least one ghost story, or something resembling one, because who doesn't love a good shiver down the spine? Ooh. Now, during my review of Fort Ontario near Lake Ontario, I wasn't entirely sure if what I encountered was more boo or, oh boy, did I step in something. This historic fort has seen its fair share of drama. It's like the high school that hosted every prom since the dawn of time. The current Fort Ontario is the fourth iteration, built on the remnants of three earlier forts that are battlefields for not just one, but three French and Indian war battles and two from the War of 1812. Talk about a place with commitment issues. The U.S. Army held court there until World War II, so if walls could talk, they'd probably complain about all the marching boots and maybe share some juicy military gossip. From 1944 to 1946, it even served as a refugee camp for Holocaust survivors under an executive order signed by none other than President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Imagine trying to find your way around a place packed with history while dodging ghosts that might still be arguing over old battle strategies. And let's not forget the post cemetery on site where 77 souls, soldiers, women, and children rest in peace after serving at Fort Ontario in both war and peace. If you're ever in the area, don't forget to stop by. Excuse me. In 1946, Fort Ontario made a grand exit from military life and strutted its stuff into the arms of the state of New York, taking up the noble task of providing shelter for World War II veterans and their families until 1953. It even threw a little party in 1949 when it opened as a state historic site, complete with old uniforms and ghost stories. Fast forward to our investigation, where we decided to channel our inner Ghostbusters. Armed with infrared cameras that could spot a specter faster than you can say boo, and electromagnetic field meters that beeped more than my phone during family dinners, we set up static audio recorders around the building like we were preparing for a paranormal potluck. Our chosen haunt, a theater that had once played host to supply runs for the fort, and later donned the scrubs of a hospital during a hospital supply room back in World War I. Talk about multitasking. As we roamed through this historic hotspot, we half expected to bump into a phantom veteran asking us for directions to the nearest coffee shop, or perhaps an overly enthusiastic spirit trying to audition for the next big Broadway hit. Who knew history could be so entertaining? As we entered the theater area, a space adorned with rows of seats and a stage that seemed to be beckoned for an audience, I felt a surge of nostalgia from my military days. Soldiers have an uncanny ability to turn even the most mundane moments into grand events, especially when payday rolls around. It's practically a national holiday in the barracks. Channeling my inner sergeant, I strutted into a room with all the authority of a seasoned staff sergeant. Think less sarge and more sarge-tastic. In my best booming voice, I declared, "My name is Staff Sergeant Armstrong. I am the non-commissioned officer in charge. You will muster for pay, but before you receive your hard-earned cash, you will first give your name, rank, serial number, and unit." The silence that followed was so thick you could cut it with a butter knife. We waited eagerly for any hint of electronic voice phenomena, EVP, as if we were about to hear ghostly soldiers clamoring for their overdue checks. Alas, despite our fervent hopes for disembodied voices to join in on our farcical roll call, the only sounds we heard was the echo of my own bravado bouncing off the walls. Turns out that in this theater of spirits, the only thing missing was a ghostly paymaster ready to hand out some spectral salaries. After wrapping up our investigation, we shuffled back home like a pack of over-caffeinated squirrels ready to dissect our treasure trove of video and audio recordings. Excuse me. My forte, audio analysis, of course, because who wouldn't want to spend hours turning into the sweet nothingness of muffled sounds? Meanwhile, our team had meticulously assigned roles like a bizarre game of musical chairs. Some brave souls took on the video review, while others stationed at headquarters played timestamp tag, matching every second of footage with our handwritten notes, akin to a criminal investigation, but without the dramatic music and late-night stakeouts, though the coffee consumption was just as high. As I plunged into my audio files, I was met with a symphony of silence that would have make even a librarian yawn. Just when I thought my ears were going to file for a restraining order against boredom, I caught a faint whisper. Corporal. There was more, but it sounded like someone was trying to pronounce it underwater. It wasn't exactly Pulitzer Prize material for my report, but I shared it with our team chief anyway. He chuckled in disbelief at its mystery, yet agreed it lacked the substance needed for formal documentation. A classic case of, that's interesting, but let's not put it on the family scrapbook. So there we sat, two detectives in the thrilling world of audio sleuthing, wondering if we'd stumbled upon an elusive ghost or just someone mumbling about their last gym routine. The encounter remains one of the few things I have ever captured while ghost hunting, and let me tell you, it was like finding a unicorn in a petting zoo. Most of my other attempts have turned out to be less boo and more boo-hoo, as I've debunked countless supposed paranormal occurrences. For instance, if you live near a train tracks that are merely 10 feet from your house and your knickknacks are moving on their own, it might just be the local freight train auditioning for a role in your living room. Similarly, if you can reach out to your bathroom window and touch your neighbor's bathroom window while claiming to hear ghostly whispers when no one else is home, it may be time to knock on their door instead of calling Ghostbusters. After all, they might just be having a very enthusiastic karaoke night. And let's not forget that reducing certain recreational habits could lead to clearer perceptions of one's environment. Who knows, maybe last night's haunting was just a leftover pizza talking. So before you start stocking up on sage and incense, perhaps consider adjusting your surroundings and your lifestyle. After all, sometimes the scariest thing lurking in your home is simply your own misinterpretation of reality, especially after binge watching too many horror flicks.
Agent power, weakest laws, money driven, nature, fraud, breathless body, diamond bones, wanna be it, wanna feel it.
For all you wrestling buffs out there, with a recent wave of scandals shaking the very foundation of the industry like a suplex from the top rope, I thought it was high time to dive into the story of Vincent Kennedy McMahon, a figure as controversial as he is iconic. Love him or hate him, McMahon has been a pivotal force in transforming professional wrestling from a niche pastime into a global phenomenon. He's basically the superhero and supervillain of sports entertainment rolled into one. Not only is he the mastermind behind WWE, but he's also an over-the-top character who could easily headline his own soap opera, complete with dramatic monologues and plot twists that would make even Shakespeare raise an eyebrow. From his infamous on-screen persona, where he struts around like he owns the place, which, let's be honest, he kinda does, to his behind-the-scenes business maneuvers that would make Wall Street brokers weep with envy. McMahon has always been at the center of both adoration and outrage, with allegations swirling faster than a wrestler's entrance theme and discussions about ethics in wrestling reaching a fever pitch like a Royal Rumble on social media. It's fascinating to reflect on how McMahon's decisions have shaped not only his legacy, but also the landscape of sports entertainment as we know it today. His journey is filled with triumphs and tribulations that mirror the dramatic narrative seen in the ring. Who knew that boardroom battles could rival cage matches? So grab your popcorn, Imagine being in your 70s looking like a human version of a granite statue and boasting muscles that could probably bench press a small car. Yes, I'm talking about Vince McMahon. Picture this titan of the wrestling world strutting into an arena packed to the brim with thousands of fans who are more hyped than a kid in a candy store. The moment he steps into the spotlight, you can almost hear the collective gasps. It's like watching a superhero emerge from the pages of a comic book. Vince isn't just overseeing the cast, oh no. He's the ringleader of this three-ring circus. He's still delivering those larger-than-life promos that could make Shakespeare weep with envy. Excuse me. Who else could transform a bunch of spandex-clad gladiators into global icons while simultaneously keeping his hair impeccably coiffed? With an eye for business sharper than a samurai sword, he turned what was once a Saturday night pastime into an international phenomenon that has everyone from toddlers to grandmas yelling at their TVs. And let's not forget those WrestleMania events, legendary spectacles where dreams come true and reality gets body slammed out of existence. Even at this advanced age, Vince embodies resilience and charisma like nobody's business, proving that passion for wrestling is truly ageless. In many ways, Vince McMahon isn't just a name, he's the guy who keeps the wrestling world spinning on its axis, a living legend inspiring both fans, and Vince didn't inherit his empire, he built it from the ground up. And what a remarkable journey it's been. Starting as a commentator and promoter for his father's modest wrestling company, Vince was fueled by dreams that stretched far beyond the ring. He envisioned a world where wrestling could capture the hearts of millions, not just a niche audience. Fast forward to the vibrant 1980s, and we find him not just grappling with opponents in the ring, but also wrestling with the very fabric of entertainment itself, leading to the revolutionary creation of WrestleMania. This wasn't merely a series of matches, oh no. It was akin to throwing a massive carnival where the stakes were as high as a body slam from Hulk Hogan. Imagine this, pyrotechnics that could rival a 4th of July celebration, larger-than-life characters whose personas are more exaggerated than your uncle's fishing stories, and an audience that spanned from die-hard wrestling fans to bewildered grandmas just trying to figure out what on earth was happening on their television screens. It was a bold move that transformed wrestling into a global phenomenon, like if you took your average backyard barbecue and turned it into a world tour featuring acrobatics, drama, and enough glitter to make a disco ball jealous. People from all walks of life flocked to the arenas and tuned in from home, united by the thrill of watching over-the-top showdowns that combined athleticism with sheer entertainment. WrestleMania became less about who pinned who and more about who could deliver the most outrageous catchphrase or pull off a flying dropkick while dressed like a superhero on steroids. Ooh, did I say that word? In essence, it was a dazzling spectacle that proved one thing. Sometimes, all you need is a good body slam and an even better storyline to bring the world together. His vision was clear as a freshly cleaned wrestling mat, to catapult wrestling into the spotlight of mainstream culture, making it not just a niche sport for sweat-drenched aficionados, but a grand spectacle that appealed to everyone from the casual viewer who thinks body slam is just what happens when you drop your sandwich at lunch, to the diehard fans who can recite every wrestler's finishing move like it's the alphabet. This ambitious endeavor didn't merely change the landscape of professional wrestling, it was akin to introducing kale smoothies to a barbecue, unexpected yet transformative. With each suplex and dramatic storyline, he laid the groundwork for future generations of entertainers, proving that with enough passion and perseverance, maybe a little spandex, anyone could reshape an entire industry. It was a testament that even a world where grown adults fake fighting in colorful costumes might seem absurd, one can indeed turn a pastime into a cultural phenomenon, like turning your embarrassing karaoke nights into a TikTok sensation. With bold moves and relentless ambition, he expanded the WWF, now WWE, into an entertainment juggernaut that captured the hearts of millions, much like a toddler captures a cookie jar. By signing major stars like Hulk Hogan and The Rock, he didn't just elevate their careers, he transformed them into cultural icons whose names became synonymous with wrestling itself. I mean, Who would have thought that a man in a bandana and a mustache would become more famous than your average superhero? Fans flocked to arenas captivated by the larger-than-life personas and dramatic storylines that unfolded in front of their eyes. It was like watching Shakespeare, but with more spandex and fewer tragic endings. As audiences cheered for epic smackdowns and gasped as outrageous plot twists, like what someone turned out to be someone else's long-lost twin, wrestling transcended mere sport and became a soap opera with body slams. Or soap opera for men, as I like to call it. And let's not forget the flamboyant entrances that made even rock stars look like they were headed to a casual brunch. In this world, every slam was a spectacle. He didn't just build an empire, he crafted a roller coaster ride of adrenaline, charisma, and enough dramatic flair to make even the most seasoned drama queen nod in approval. However, this meteoric rise to fame was not without its shadows. Controversy was never far behind. Trailing like an overly enthusiastic fan with a world's best t-shirt, from intense rivalries that sometimes spilled over into real-life feuds, think of it as a soap opera but with more sweat and less dramatic music, to the ongoing debates with health implications of the sport, the organization often found itself under scrutiny. Imagine athletes trading barbs in press conferences like they're competing for a spot on the Real Housewives of Sports, complete with eye rolls and mic drops. Meanwhile, health experts would pop up like whack-a-moles, warning about injuries, questionable diets, while fans munched on nachos and guzzled energy drinks, blissfully unaware that their favorite pastime might come with a side of heart palpitations. And let's not forget the passionate debates on social media, where keyboard warriors engage in epic battles of wit and wisdom, armed with nothing but hashtags and memes that would make Shakespeare weep. In the end, while the sport soared to dizzying heights, it left behind a trail of raised eyebrows and snickers, proving that in a world of fame, there's always room for a little chaos and a lot of laughter. Yet, through it all, he managed to navigate these challenges with a blend of charisma and cunning business acumen, ensuring that spectacle remained as thrilling as ever, like a tightrope walker juggling flaming swords while riding a unicycle. It's this delicate dance between controversy and success that has made WWE a staple in pop culture, proving that in the world of entertainment, sometimes it's the drama outside the ring that keeps audiences hooked just as much as what happens inside it. I mean, who could forget the time when wrestlers were practically feuding on social media like it was Thanksgiving dinner gone wrong? One minute they're throwing chairs at each other in the ring, and the next they're tweeting a passive-aggressive about family values over breakfast. This chaotic interplay is akin to watching a soap opera where instead of long-lost relatives discovering their true identities, you have larger-than-life characters donning spandex and slapping on finishing moves that can make even the toughest gym instructor flinch. In this carnival of chaos, where body slams and dramatic plot twists reigned supreme, WWE proves time and again that when life gives you lemons, you should probably hurl them at your opponent before pinning them for the 3 count. Behind the glitz and glamour of Vince's world lies a shadowy side that often goes unnoticed by the casual observer. While fans are dazzled by the high-octane shows and larger-than-life personalities, think of them as superheroes who somehow forgot to wear their capes. Vince has faced a barrage of allegations over the years that paint a more complex picture. It's like watching a magician pull rabbits out of hats, only to discover he's been hiding a few elephants in the room too. From steroid scandals that has raised serious questions about athlete safety, because nothing says, "I love my body," quite like injecting it with questionable substances, transgender, to accusations of misconduct that have tarnished his reputation. It's clear that the spotlight isn't always flattering. Imagine trying to juggle flaming swords while riding a unicycle on a tightrope. That's basically Vince's life, balancing between dazzling entertainment and controversy. So while fans might be cheering for their favorite wrestlers, they might want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that behind all those bodacious bods and dramatic showdowns, there's a lot more going on than just body slams and suplexes, like avoiding legal body slams of his own. Critics argue that Vince's relentless pursuit of profits often overshadows any ethical considerations, leading to a culture where winning at all costs becomes the norm, like a high-stakes game of Monopoly where the only rule is screw your neighbor. For instance, many former wrestlers have come forward to share their struggles with addiction and mental health issues, suggesting a darker undercurrent to the spectacle that audiences adore. It's almost as if the bright lights and body slams are just a glossy wrapping behind a not-so-fun surprise inside, like finding out your birthday cake is actually made of broccoli. You can't help but chuckle at the irony. Here we are glued to our screens cheering for larger-than-life characters while some of those very heroes are grappling with real-life demons backstage. Imagine a wrestler in spandex, muscles bulging, delivering an epic finishing move, and later admitting he's battling his own personal wrestling match with depression. It's enough to make you wonder if the next pay-per-view event should include therapy sessions between matches. And now, folks, prepare for your main event, the Royal Rumble for Mental Health Awareness. Amidst the theatrics and athleticism lies a pressing need for empathy and support that seems to get lost in the shuffle of showbiz glitz. This raises an important question. At what point does entertainment cross the line into exploitation? As we cheer for our favorite superstars in the ring, it's crucial to remember that behind those flashy entrances and scripted rivalries lies a reality that is more complicated and sometimes troubling than we might like to admit. After all, we're busy munching on popcorn and shouting, "You go, girl!" at the screen. There's a whole world of sweat, tears, and questionable life choices happening backstage. Picture this, a performer in sequins and spandex, fueled by sheer adrenaline, grappling with her opponent while secretly wondering if that last suplex will be their ticket to stardom or just another trip to the chiropractor. It's like watching a high-stakes game of human chess where the pawns are wearing glittery capes and the king is contemplating whether to take the lucrative but soul-sucking endorsement deal with the latest energy drink that promises to make you feel like a superhero, but really just makes you jittery. Sure, we love the drama, the rivalries, and the outrageous storylines, but let's not forget there's real people behind those personas who might just prefer a quiet evening with a good book instead of getting body slammed for our amusement. So next time you're hooting and hollering for your favorites, maybe throw in a thought for their well-being, because while they're putting on a show, we wouldn't want them to end. The infamous Monday Night Wars was a legendary battle for supremacy in the world of professional wrestling, where the WWE and WCW fought tooth and nail for viewers' loyalty and ratings, much like two overzealous relatives competing for the last slice of pizza at a family gathering. During this intense rivalry, the stakes were sky high. Think high dive without a safety net, pushing both organizations to innovate and occasionally take bold risks that raised more than a few eyebrows. It was a time when storylines became so convoluted that even Shakespeare would have said, "Whoa, slow down there." WWE unleashed iconic characters like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, who could make you laugh one moment and cheer for them to body slam their opponent into the next Tuesday the next. Meanwhile, WCW rolled out its own A-list roster with larger-than-life personas like Hulk Hogan and the NWO crew, who seemed to take bad guy to an entirely new level. Let's just say if they were in your neighborhood, you'd hide your lawn gnomes. With each passing week, fans found themselves glued to their screens, popcorn in hand, eagerly awaiting the next outrageous twist or surprise return. In the tumultuous ring of entertainment, one thing was certain: everyone had a favorite wrestler, and if you didn't, well, then you were just too busy watching golf. Grumpy. For instance, some storylines ventured into morally ambiguous territory, blurring the lines between good and evil in ways that left fans questioning their own allegiances. It's like watching a cat decide whether to nap on a sunny windowsill or plot the demise of its human. Suddenly you're not sure if you should cheer for the adorable fluff ball or call animal control. There were moments when personal tragedies were drawn upon for dramatic effect. Think about how real-life events were woven into story arcs that aimed to captivate audiences. Imagine a character whose epic journey mirrors the trials of soap opera stars who forgot their lines during a live broadcast. Suddenly, every heartbreak feels both monumental and absurd, as viewers can't help but giggle at the sheer melodrama being while simultaneously reaching for tissues. These narratives turned into roller coasters of emotions where one minute you're laughing at a witty quip and the next you're sobbing over a lost pet turtle. It's this delightful chaos that keeps fans glued to their screens, wondering if they should be rooting for the villain with a tragic backstory or just appreciating how well they pull off that evil laugh. While such tactics undeniably create buzz and heightened drama, think of it as a soap opera where the actors occasionally forget their lines and start wrestling instead. They also sparked controversy about ethics and entertainment that could rival any courtroom drama. It was a time when the adrenaline of competition led to choices that made some fans cheer and others clutch their pearls in horror. Did these flashy maneuvers elevate the art of wrestling storytelling to dizzying heights, or did they plunge it into a chaotic abyss reminiscent of a catfight at a family reunion? Picture wrestlers spinning like tops, leaping off ropes as if they were auditioning for an Olympic gymnastics team, while the audience cheered louder than a pack of caffeinated squirrels. Yet, amidst all this raucous revelry, many still debate, were we witnessing the evolution of an art form or merely watching its integrity do a backflip off the top rope? As we munch on our popcorn, one can't help but wonder if the true spectacle lies not just in the body slams and dramatic betrayals, but in the philosophical conundrum of whether wrestling is high art or just an elaborate game of who can outslam whom. The fervor of those Monday nights not only captivated audiences, but also reshaped the industry, leaving a legacy that is still felt in today's wrestling landscape. Be right back. I need a cerveja. Picture it. Fans glued to their screens, popcorn flying as body slams echoed like thunderclaps through living rooms nationwide, and the occasional pet cat dramatically flinging itself off the couch at the sight of a particularly wild suplex. My snap suplexes were something to see. These electrifying evenings were akin to a soap opera crossed with a circus act, where larger-than-life characters dressed in spandex tighter than your Aunt Edna's holiday sweater battled it out for supremacy. The drama was so intense that you could practically hear the collective gasps as the storyline twisted faster than a wrestler's ankle during a botched move. This weekly spectacle not only turned casual viewers into die-hard fans, but also inspired countless memes, debates over who would win in a fight between Hulk Hogan and Giant Rubber Chicken, and even an unexpected surge in wrestling-themed birthday parties, because nothing says happy birthday like a surprise body slam. Today's wrestling landscape owes its flair and flamboyance to those raucous Monday nights where every elbow drop and flying kick was not just entertainment but a cultural phenomenon that sparked conversations, friendships, and perhaps too many questionable tattoos of wrestlers on unsuspecting fans. These controversies have sparked lively debates about integrity in sports entertainment, and it's a conversation that feels more relevant than ever. On one hand, you have purists arguing that the essence of sports should be rooted in fair competition and respect for the rules. They believe that when theatrics overshadow athleticism, we risk diluting the very spirit that makes sports so captivating. Picture them at a bar waving their hands like an over-caffeinated octopus as they passionately defend the sanctity of whistle-blowing referee calls. After all, nothing says true athlete like adhering to the rule book while chugging a protein shake and wearing socks with sandals. Yet, on the other side of this spirited debate, we have those who embrace the drama and showmanship of modern sports. They see no harm in a little theatrics. After all, isn't it fun to watch an athlete dramatically tumble to the ground as if they've been hit by a meteor? Brazilian football. If anything, these moments add spice to what would otherwise be a dull afternoon of watching grown adults chase after balls or engage in complex strategies like a game of chess gone terribly wrong. So here we are, caught between the earnestness of sportsmanship and the spectacle of entertainment, wondering if we should be holding up banners that read integrity over entertainment or bring on the drama. Because let's face it, sometimes we just want to witness a glorious flop worthy of an Oscar nomination. Take, for instance, those delightful moments when players theatrically drop to the ground as if they've been shot by a sniper from a stance, clutching their legs and rolling around like they're auditioning for a dramatic soap opera. Brazilian football. It raises eyebrows and prompts serious questions about authenticity. Are we watching a sport event or the latest episode of Dramatic Injuries, the reality show? On the flip side, there are those who argue that in an age where attention spans are so short they could fit in a toddler's playpen, a little spectacle isn't just welcome, it's practically mandatory. After all, how else do you keep fans engaged? Imagine trying to hold your audience's interest with nothing but a straightforward match. It would be like serving plain oatmeal at a buffet. Nobody's coming back for seconds, so what do? We crank up the excitement with the over-the-top antics and exaggerated confrontations that turn every game into a nail-biting thriller. It's as if sports has become part athletic contest and part reality TV drama, where the only thing more inflated than the scores are the players' egos. But then again, where do we draw the line? Should there be no boundaries to maintain credibility while still captivating audiences? It's like trying to find the perfect seasoning for a bland soup. Too much salt and you're left gasping for water. Too little and your taste buds might as well be on vacation. As we navigate this precarious landscape of entertainment versus integrity, where athletes sometimes seem more like circus performers than sports heroes, it becomes clear that finding that balance is crucial. This isn't just keeping the leagues in check, it's also about the fans who invest their time and passion into what they love. After all, nobody wants to discover that their favorite player is less of a role model and more of a reality show villain, complete with dramatic music and slow motion replays of decisions. Vince McMahon is about so much more than just physical strength. It's a lifestyle steeped in resilience, charisma, and an unwavering spirit of competition that remains alive even at 77, though some might argue he's secretly powered by the enthusiasm of 1,000 caffeinated squirrels. Imagine a man who has not only shaped the landscape of professional wrestling, but also continuously reinvented himself in the face of countless challenges, like a chameleon on a roller coaster. Whether he's strutting down to the ring in his signature suit or navigating through boardroom battles with the same ferocity he reserves for a steel cage match, Vince embodies the idea that age is merely a number, and in his case it seems to be an invitation to throw another wild party. He's faced setbacks that would make lesser mortals crumble like stale crackers, yet he bounces back with the tenacity of a rubber band that refuses to snap, except this rubber band is wearing sunglasses and flexing its biceps. So if you ever find yourself feeling down, just channel your inner McMahon, throw on some flashy attire, grab a microphone or whatever's handy, and remind yourself that life is just one big WrestleMania waiting for you to body slam those obstacles into next week. McMahon's life is a testament to the idea that true vitality comes from within, fueled by an insatiable desire to push boundaries and defy expectations. Like a caffeinated squirrel on a mission to conquer the highest branch of the tallest tree, his relentless work ethic is formidable that even coffee takes notes when he walks into a cafe. With a magnetic personality that could probably pull in stray cats from 2 blocks away, he has earned himself a reputation as a visionary leader capable of captivating audiences like a magician pulling rabbits out of hats. Except his tricks involve innovative ideas instead of fluffy animals. It's no wonder that those around him find themselves inspired. They often joke that just being in his presence is like taking an all-access pass to the motivational theme park of life, complete with roller coasters of ambition and Ferris wheels of creativity. So while others may be content lounging on the couch with their remote controls, McMahon is out there transforming challenges into opportunities, proving that vitality isn't just about being alive, it's about living life with all the pizzazz of a Broadway showstopper. Whether he's stepping into the ring with the grace of a gazelle on roller skates or juggling the complexities of business like a circus clown with too many flaming torches, McMahon exudes an energy that not only draws people in but makes them believe they can leap tall buildings in a single bound, preferably without tripping over their shoelaces. It's this delightful cocktail of tenacity and charm, shaken, not stirred, that defines what it means to live like him. Imagine waking up each day with the determination of a caffeinated squirrel and the charisma of a game show host. That's McMahon for you. He doesn't just commit to surviving. Oh no, he's all about thriving, like a succulent plant in a sunny window. It's as if he wakes up each morning with a mission to conquer not just boardrooms, but also the hearts and minds of everyone around him, turning skeptics into believers faster than you could say cha-ching. In his world, obstacles are merely opportunities wearing silly hats, ready for a good laugh and an even better comeback. Embracing every challenge with open arms, McMahon is like that one friend who insists on trying the spiciest dish on the menu just to see if they can still breathe afterwards. His infectious enthusiasm is so contagious that even the most reluctant couch potato suddenly feels the urge to join a marathon, albeit marathon of binge-watching their favorite series. In a world where many might slow down with age, McMahon struts through life as if he's just divorced coffee for the first time, reminding us all that life is about keeping the fire burning bright. He tackles obstacles with the kind of gusto usually reserved for kids at a candy store, proving that challenges are merely opportunities wearing disguises. So while others may sit back and reminisce about the good old days when they could run without pulling a muscle, McMahon is out there sprinting toward new adventures, armed with a grin and maybe a pair of questionable sneakers. If life were a game show, he'd be that contestant who never presses stop and the fun button, showing us all that aging is just another excuse to turn up the volume and dance like nobody's watching, even if everyone really is. He reminds us all that our best days can still lie ahead if we approach each moment with passion and purpose. Though, let's be honest, some of us might need a little bit more coffee and a lot fewer cat videos to get there. Imagine waking up each morning not just rolling out of bed like a weary burrito, but leaping into the day with the enthusiasm of a puppy chasing its own tail. Sure, life might throw a few lemons your way, and let's face it, sometimes they're the size of watermelons, but with the right attitude you can turn that sour situation into a zesty lemonade stand, or at least a mildly refreshing drink. It's all about finding a spark in the mundane. Even folding laundry can feel like an Olympic sport when you put your heart into it. So why not tackle the day with gusto? Whether you're giving that presentation or finally organizing your sock drawer, who knew it could be so thrilling? Remember, every moment is an opportunity for greatness, or at the very least, a good laugh when things go hilariously wrong.
This is going to blow your mind today. Ever wonder what it takes to master long-range shooting? Whether you're a rookie or a seasoned marksman, long-range shooting is an art and a science. Sean Armstrong's book, The Magic of Long-Range Shooting, Zen or Science, is your ticket to mastering it all. Learn how to pick the perfect rifle for any condition, understand the magic behind the ammo, and discover the secrets to steady firing positions. Want to know how to read the wind or zero your scope like a pro? This book's got you covered. Compete, hunt, or just hit those insane shots you've always dreamed of with confidence. Armstrong breaks down everything from making your dope data sheet to computing lead and the formulas for precision. Say goodbye to guesswork and hello to accuracy. Unlock the secrets of long-range shooting today and transform every shot into a masterpiece. Grab your copy now and shoot with confidence.
That was Saturday at a rally in Florida. Trump was asking supporters to raise their hands, vowing to vote for him in the March 15th primary. But that led to headlines like these, where some compared that moment to something that might have happened at a rally in Nazi Germany. And we noticed 4 other moments in the past week where people have compared Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler, we all look at Adolf Hitler in 1940. We should look at Adolf Hitler in 1929. He was a kind of a funny kind of character that said the things that people were thinking. Where Donald Trump takes it, I have absolutely no idea. But Donald Trump is a dangerous man with the things that he has been saying.
So I had one of Hitler's speeches translated into English, and I think this tells us a lot about where Donald Trump is getting his ideas. Look at this Hitler speech, and we've translated it for you. Thank you. Thank you. We're going to make Germany great again. That I can tell you, believe me.
So when people ask why you support Donald Trump, you just tell them.
He's going to take our economy from here to here. And I like that.
He's not some cautious politician. He says what I'm thinking.
I don't know what it is. I just like the guy.
A message from Racists for Donald Trump.
Comedian Louis C.K. wrote this in an email to fans. Please stop it with voting for Trump. It was funny for a little while, but the guy is Hitler. And by that I mean that we are being Germany in the 30s. Do you think they saw the expletive coming? Hitler was just some hilarious and refreshing dude with a weird comb-over who would say anything at all. Trump asked voters again on Monday, this time in North Carolina, to raise their hands and take the loyalty pledge.
And you know, that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Imagine this. You're at a political rally, your heart racing as you defend your beliefs, the fervor of the crowd amplifying your resolve. The atmosphere is electric, filled with passion and conviction. Banners flutter in the wind and voices rise in unison, echoing a shared vision for change. Each person present embodies a commitment to their ideals, united under a common banner of hope and determination. Yet, amidst this harmonious display of democracy, a voice suddenly cuts through the crowd like a knife. They're Nazis! They're fascists! This provocative outburst starkly contrasts with the prevailing spirit of camaraderie and purpose. It not only disrupts the dialogue, but also invokes deep-seated fears and historical wounds that many had hoped to leave behind. Such incendiary accusations can polarize discussions, creating an environment where constructive debate is overshadowed by alarmist rhetoric. The tension escalates as attendees grapple with the implications of such labels, questioning whether they are truly advocating for justice or merely perpetuating cycles of division. In that fleeting moment, the rally transforms from a space of hopeful discourse into a battleground of ideology, forcing everyone to confront uncomfortable truths about extremism and the fragility of constitutional engagement. Suddenly, the air thickens with tension, a palpable shift that makes everyone hold their breath. Accusations fly like arrows, sharp and damaging, each word carrying the weight of unspoken histories and unresolved grievances. In this charged atmosphere, it becomes clear that those hurling insults are not merely engaging in a battle of words, they are themselves caught in a chaotic web of their own making. Each accusation reveals more about the accuser than the accused, shedding light on their insecurities and fears. What happens when rhetoric spirals out of control? The dialogue transforms from a search for truth into a cacophony of blame and defensiveness, where rational discourse is lost amidst emotional upheaval. Instead of bridging gaps, these heated exchanges deepen divides, leaving scars that may never heal. It raises an important question. Can clarity ever emerge from such turmoil, or does the frenzy only serve to entrap all involved in cycles of conflict and misunderstanding? Words hold immense power. They can inspire movements or incite violence, shaping public opinion and influencing societal norms. In today's polarized climate, extreme language is becoming alarmingly common. Politicians and activists often resort to inflammatory terms to rally support or demonize opponents, using rhetoric that stokes fears and division rather than fostering understanding. For instance, during election seasons, candidates may label their rivals with derogatory epitaphs or paint them as threats to national security, effectively rallying their base by creating an us versus them mentality. This tactic not only amplifies tensions but also diminishes the possibility for constructive dialogue and compromise. As communities become increasingly fragmented, the consequences of such language can be profound, leading to real-world violence and a breakdown in civil discourse. I want to remind the left that is, you people are shooting at our candidate. We're not shooting at yours. The challenge we face is recognizing the weight our words carry and striving for communication that builds bridges instead of walls. But here's the kicker. This kind of rhetoric doesn't just stay on social media or in heated debates. It seeps into real life, turning passionate discussions into dangerous confrontations. Which begins as a spirited exchange of ideas can quickly escalate when individuals feel compelled to defend their beliefs fiercely, often leading to heightened emotions and misunderstandings. In public spaces, we witness how online arguments spill over, with people confronting one another not just with words but with hostility. For instance, disagreements over political views at a local cafe can transform into shouting matches, leaving bystanders uncomfortable and unsure of how to intervene. The stakes seem to rise when anonymity fades and faces become visible. It's as if the virtual armor many wear online is stripped away, exposing raw vulnerabilities and anger. As those interactions unfold in real time, they create an atmosphere charged with tension, where one misinterpreted comment or an unguarded gesture could ignite further conflict. This dynamic illustrates the profound impact that our online discourse has on everyday life, highlighting the urgent need for more constructive communication that fosters understanding rather than division. Let's delve into a recent incident that illustrates this point vividly. I think I showed one in the introduction. At a protest organized by one faction, tensions escalated rapidly when opposing groups clashed. What began as shouting matches quickly transformed into physical altercations, with participants hurling insults and, soon after, objects at one another. The atmosphere was charged with anger and frustration, fueled by deep-seated beliefs and conflicting ideologies. As the confrontation intensified, bystanders looked on as shock, while some attempted to intervene, urging calm and dialogue. However, their pleas were drowned out by the cacophony of voices, each side rallying its supporters to take a stand. Did someone just walk behind me? Law enforcement arrived on the scene to restore order, but not before several individuals had sustained injuries and the event spiraled into chaos. Antifa. This incident serves as a stark reminder of how quickly peaceful gatherings can devolve into violence when underlying tensions are ignited. Antifa, highlighting the need for effective communication and understanding and addressing societal conflicts. BLM. In the chaos of confrontation, individuals from both sides sustained injuries, some of them quite serious. Antifa, leaving lasting physical and emotional scars. BLM. The irony of the situation was striking. Those who vehemently labeled their opponents as Nazis, Antifa, were in fact engaging in conduct that echoed the very extremism they claimed to oppose. Antifa. This disturbing parallel raised questions about the nature of their actions and beliefs as they resorted to violence and intimidation rather than seeking dialogue or understanding. Antifa. The historical reference to the Night of Broken Glass serves as a poignant reminder of how quickly societal tensions can escalate into acts of brutality. Antifa. On that infamous night in 1938, widespread anti-Semitic violence erupted across Germany and Austria, resulting in shattered windows, destroyed businesses, and deepening division within society. Antifa. Slowly, today's events highlight a troubling trend where rhetoric and action blur the lines between victim and aggressor. In this climate, it becomes essential to reflect on how easily one can slip into the very behaviors they denounce. Antifa. Raising critical questions about accountability and the true essence of ideological commitment. This isn't an isolated event. It's part of a troubling trend where heated language leads to violent outcomes. Antifa. Across various platforms, whether in political debates, social media exchanges, or community discussions, individuals often resort to incendiary rhetoric that fosters division and hostility. When people dehumanize their opponents through derogatory labels and sweeping generalizations, it becomes easier to justify aggression against them. Antifa. For instance, during contentious elections, candidates may depict their rivals just as political adversaries, but as threats to the very fabric of society. Harris. The portrayal can incite fervent support to view any opposition as a moral failing rather than a difference of opinion, further escalating tensions. Harris. The consequences can be dire, from online harassment to real-world violence. The ramifications of this kind of discourse are profound and far-reaching. Harris. As history has shown us time and again, when empathy is replaced by enmity, the path toward conflict becomes all too clear, raising serious concerns about stability and unity of communities. When a person receives another as a fascist, the emotional and moral implications can lead to a dangerous mindset. This label, often associated with authoritarianism and oppression, can provoke intense feelings of righteousness in individuals who believe they are standing up against an oppressive force. Antifa. As a result, they may feel morally justified in taking drastic measures against perceived threat. Antifa. This can manifest in various forms, from social harassment such as online bullying or public shaming to more severe actions that might even include physical confrontation. Antifa. The individual's conviction that their actions are for the greater good can create a dangerous cycle where hostility begets further hostility. Antifa. Leading to a breakdown of dialogue and understanding. History has shown us that such polarization can escalate quickly, resulting in tragic consequences for both sides. Thus, it becomes essential to recognize how labeling others can distort our perceptions and justify extreme behaviors, ultimately undermining the very values of freedom and democracy that many claim to uphold. The consequences extend beyond immediate violence, rippling through the fabric of society in profound ways. Such incidents create an environment of fear and mistrust that seeps into everyday life, affecting how individuals interact with one another. In neighborhoods once characterized by camaraderie, the chilling silence often replaces laughter and conversation. Communities fractured as lines are drawn in the sand. Friendships dissolve over differing beliefs, often leading to heated arguments or complete estrangement. Neighbors who once shared meals and celebrations may now avoid each other altogether, wary of a potential conflict. This division can manifest in various forms, from social gatherings becoming the battlegrounds of ideology to public spaces feeling unsafe for those with differing opinions. The ongoing atmosphere of tension not only hampers open dialogue but also stifles community growth and solidarity, leaving lasting scars that may take generations to heal. As people retreat into their ideological corners, the collective ability to emphasize diminishes, further entrenching divisions that can be difficult to bridge. Ultimately, the ripple effects of such violence serves to erode the very foundations of trust and cooperation that are essential for a thriving community. Moreover, these events can have long-lasting implications for political discourse itself. When extreme rhetoric prevails, rational conversations take a back seat, leading to an environment where dialogue becomes increasingly polarized. This shift can stifle constructive debate as individuals retreat into echo chambers that reinforce their beliefs rather than challenge them. Facebook. For instance, in situations where inflammatory language dominates the public sphere, It often alienates moderate voices who might otherwise contribute nuanced perspectives. Over time, this can create a cycle of division where the boundaries between facts and opinions blur, making it difficult for citizens to engage with one another on common ground. As political discussions become marked with hostility and mistrust, the potential for collaborative problem solving diminishes, leaving complex issues unresolved and fostering a culture of animosity rather than understanding. In such an atmosphere, the foundations of democracy, deliberation, compromise, and mutual respect are significantly weakened, posing risks not just to individual communities but to society as a whole. So, how do we navigate this treacherous terrain? First and foremost, we must recognize that the weight our words carry. Language is a powerful tool that can either bridge gaps or widen divides. Therefore, it is crucial to be mindful of our choices. I think we observe that when we see the brainwashing of the left who go over on Grumpy's page and just babble the CNN and MSNBC talking points. Instead of resorting to divisive language that alienates others and fosters resentment, let's strive for dialogue rooted in respect and understanding. There are certain people I will never respect. Respect is earned. It is not given. And I cannot understand anyone who believes grooming and castrating a kid is good for them, or that Sniffy Joe is a good president. I just can't understand that. So there's no understanding there. However, I don't have to call names, and I don't have to, be. This means actively listening to differing viewpoints. I'll listen. I may call you, engaging with empathy and seeking common ground when disagreements arise. I have sympathy, not empathy. See, empathy means I know how they feel. They're mentally ill, so I have sympathy for their mental illness, but I'm not empathetic. For instance, in discussions about sensitive topics like politics or social issues, approaching conversations with an open mind allows for a richer exchange of ideas where everyone feels valued and heard. If you're a dude in a dress and you're lecturing me about being a dude in a dress, yeah. No. I may hear you, but then I'm going to point out that you're mentally ill. By prioritizing constructive communication over conflict, we not only enrich our own perspectives, but also contribute to a more harmonious environment where collaboration can flourish. Now, I think we've been over on Grumpy's page, and there's no collaboration. They're just talking points that they put out there, and they have no idea what they're saying either. None of them have any idea what they're saying. They can't back it up. They have no idea. In essence, fostering respectful dialogue can transform treacherous interactions into opportunities for growth and connection. Not really going to connect with those people. Engaging with opposing viewpoints doesn't mean compromising your beliefs. It means fostering an environment where ideas can be exchanged without fear of violence or retribution. I've never advocated for violence unless, it's for self-defense. Then you're justified. This approach encourages open dialogue, allowing individuals to express their thoughts freely while also listening to perspectives that may differ significantly from their own. For instance, in academic settings or community discussions, creating a safe space. All right, now dialogue should not be safe. It should be risky. You should risk offending someone, and then you could talk about why they're offended. For debate can lead to richer understanding and innovative solutions to complex problems. When people feel secure in sharing their opinions, they are more likely to challenge their own assumptions and consider alternative viewpoints. I don't really share my opinion. I share more fact than opinion. This practice not only enhances critical thinking, but also cultivates empathy as participants learn to appreciate the experiences and reasoning that shape others' beliefs. Ultimately, by prompting a culture of respectful discourse, we pave the way for constructive conversation that can bridge divides rather than deepen them, reinforcing the idea that diverse perspectives can coexist harmoniously in society committed to progress and understanding. If you really want that, my first recommendation, turn off the news. As we reflect on these events, it's essential to recognize that our words possess the power to shape reality, both in the digital landscape and within our everyday interactions. In a world increasingly divided by extremes, where opinions often clash with fervor, it becomes crucial to choose our language with care and intent. Each word we utter or type carries weight. It can either bridge gaps or widen divides. Let us challenge ourselves to rise above the instinctive reactions of name-calling and accusations that so often characterize heated discussions. Instead of hastily labeling others as adversaries or enemies, let's actively seek common ground, even when faced with significant disagreements. This approach not only fosters understanding, but also enriches our shared experiences as human beings. After all, at the end of the day, it is not merely about winning an argument, it's about preserving our humanity in discourse and ensuring that our words never turn deadly again. By committing to thoughtful dialogue, we can create a culture where respect prevails over hostility, ultimately allowing us to navigate differences with grace and empathy. I'm just waiting for the other side. No one is shooting at their candidate. No one's calling their candidate a Nazi. I will call her incompetent. She is very incompetent. But I will not call her a Nazi. I will not call her, might call her corrupt based on her behavior as a DA. But that's based on, things I've seen. On to our next.
George of the jungle, strong as he can be. Watch out for that tree. George of the jungle lives a life that's free. Watch out for that tree. When he gets in the scrape, he makes his escape with the help of his friend, an 8-day-day. Then away he'll schlep on his elephant, Chef Wallfella and Ursula stay in step. Well, George of the jungle, friend to you and me. Watch out for that tree. Watch out for that tree. George of the jungle, friend to you and me.
Based on some of the people I've talked to recently, I'm starting to think we've got evolution all wrong. It's not that we descended from monkeys, no. It seems like we might actually be evolving into them. Picture this. As we scroll through our smartphones, glued to social media and binge-watching cat videos, our primate ancestors are looking down from the trees, chuckling and shaking their heads. Some folks seem to be racing towards this furry fate faster than others. Take that guy at the coffee shop who grunts instead of ordering, or the woman in yoga class who literally swings her arms like she's auditioning for a role in a wildlife documentary. Perhaps they're just ahead of the curve. Imagine a future where humans casually swing from chandeliers at parties and exchange bananas instead of business cards. Hey, nice to meet you. Here's my number and a bunch of ripe Cavendish. So, let's embrace our inner monkey, because if the trend continues, those banana-themed t-shirts might just become the latest fashion statement in our evolutionary journey back to the treetops. Have you ever looked around and felt like the world is losing its sharpness? You're not alone in that sentiment. Many people have begun to notice a subtle dullness in their surroundings and interactions. It's as if someone decided to hit the soft focus button on life. Like we're all trapped in a low-budget rom-com where everyone is perpetually walking in slow motion, sipping lukewarm coffee and discussing the weather with the enthusiasm of a sloth on sedatives. Social gatherings now feel like awkwardly choreographed dance routines where everyone forgot the steps, leading to an unintentional game of who can stand still the longest. Even our conversations seem to have adopted this fuzzy quality, as if we've all collectively agreed to communicate in vague emoji instead of actual words. The once vibrant hues of our lives are blending into a muted palette that makes even beige look like throwing a rave. So let's embrace this bizarre new reality, shall we? Who needs sharpness when we can revel in the blurry absurdity of it all? After all, who doesn't enjoy a good laugh at life's expense? Recent studies reveal a surprising trend. Our collective IQ levels have been declining since 1975. Yes, you read that correctly. This decline raises significant questions about the factors contributing to this phenomenon. Various experts point to a range of potential influences, including changes in education systems, increased screen time, and the overwhelming presence of digital distractions that may be impairing critical thinking skills. Furthermore, societal shifts toward more superficial forms of communication can be stifling deep intellectual engagement. And let's face it, our brains might be on a diet and they're craving some hearty mental steak instead of the empty calories of social media banter. As we unpack this startling evidence, it becomes crucial to consider what it means for us today. We are becoming less capable of complex thought and problem solving, or is there a deeper issue at play? Perhaps we've traded in our thought-provoking novels for scrolling through cat memes and TikTok dances, inadvertently training our minds to prioritize the quick giggle over the deep ponder. It's like trying to solve Rubik's Cube while only looking at pictures of it online. Sure, you can see how colorful it is, but good luck figuring out how to twist those little squares into order. So here we are, living in an age where our attention spans are shorter than a goldfish's, no offense to goldfish, and while our thumbs have become Olympic athletes thanks to texting and tweeting, our capacity for engaging with profound ideas may be gathering dust in the attic. The real question is whether we need a mental boot camp or just a good old-fashioned book club with snacks, because who doesn't love snacks, to get us back on the track. Understanding these trends can help us reevaluate our lifestyles and prioritize mental agility in an increasingly fast-paced world. Because let's face it, if we don't start dodging the chaos like a ninja in a crowded mall, we'll end up with more stress than a cat at a dog show. In the whirlwind of responsibilities and social media notifications louder than a marching band on caffeine, taking a moment to breathe and perhaps do some yoga poses that resemble both a pretzel and an awkward flamingo can be revolutionary. Embracing mental agility isn't just about keeping up with the latest TikTok dances or knowing when to use yeet appropriately. It's about honing your ability to pivot faster than a politician during election season. Picture yourself navigating life's challenges with the grace of a gazelle, but maybe with slightly less jumping and more strategic planning. By prioritizing mental flexibility, we can transform our frantic schedules into something resembling a less choreographed dance instead of an episode of Survivor Office Edition. So, let's grab our metaphorical lasso of mindfulness and wrangle those trends before they trample us into the ground. Because if we're going to thrive in this fast-paced world, we might as well do it with style, humor, and maybe even a little cha-cha-cha. Several studies indicate a noticeable drop in IQ scores across generations, sparking significant interest and concern among researchers and educators alike. It's almost as if our brains are participating in a bizarre version of musical chairs. Each generation finds fewer seats to plop down on. While we've developed intelligence tests that could make Einstein nod in approval, the results keep suggesting that we might be collectively losing our mental marbles. Imagine a future where instead of high IQs, kids boast about their ability to recite the entire script of Finding Nemo, or master the art of expertly scrolling through TikTok. Researchers are scratching their heads and educators are furiously jotting down notes, pondering whether this decline is due to an overload of information, or if maybe, just maybe, our obsession with smartphones has turned us all into digital goldfish with attention spans shorter than a vine. So here we are staring into the abyss of potential mediocrity, hoping it doesn't become the new normal, because if future generations can't even remember where they left their keys, we might need to start labeling everything with "do not eat." For instance, some studies have documented that children today score lower on standardized tests compared to their counterparts from previous decades. This suggests that factors such as environmental influences, educational disparities, and changes in lifestyle may be contributing to this decline. Now, before we start sounding the alarm bells like a fire drill in a kindergarten class, let's consider what might be going on here. Could it be that today's kids are so distracted by TikTok dances and the latest Fortnite skin that they've forgotten how to yell cat without using autocorrect? Or perhaps they've been raised in an era where homework is more synonymous with Netflix binge watching than actual studying. It's also possible that the classroom is now competing with a plethora of shiny gadgets and gizmos that demand attention like a puppy begging for treats. Meanwhile, while kids used to wrestle with math problems, they now grapple with existential dread of being unable to remember the last time they went outside to play tag, probably because they were too busy navigating the treacherous waters of online gaming. So as we ponder this curious case of declining test scores, let's not forget to give a nod to the complexities of modern life. After all, who could possibly focus on algebra when there's a cat video waiting to be watched? This downward trend raises important questions about our cognitive abilities and prompts us to consider the broader societal changes at play. We are facing challenges related to nutrition, technology use, or even shifts in educational priorities that could be impacting the way younger generations think and learn. Pronouns! Perhaps it's a combination of all three, like a bizarre recipe gone wrong where we accidentally mix avocado toast with TikTok videos and the latest educational fad, only end up with a dish that resembles confusion served on a plate of apathy. I mean, when did scrolling through memes become an Olympic sport? It's like we've traded critical thinking for the ability to swipe left on a dating app faster than you could say critical analysis. And let's not forget about nutrition. If brain food is supposed to be leafy greens, then why are kids treating kale like it's some sort of punishment? Could it be that while they're busy perfecting their Fortnite dance moves, they're neglecting the mental gymnastics required for real-world problem solving? As we navigate this quirky landscape of modern life, one thing is clear. If we don't figure out how to balance brain boosts with binge watching, we might just end up in a collective fog where thinking outside the box means wondering where we left our phones. Smartphones are everywhere these days, like the one that friend who shows up uninvited to every gathering and somehow manages to stay longer than anyone else. He provides us with that instant gratification we crave, serving as our personal vending machines for dopamine hits. Just a quick scroll here, a double tap there, and voila. But hold your horses. There's a downside. All those constant notifications can really mess with our attention spans, turning us into the digital equivalent of goldfish. Instead of diving deep into our thoughts, pondering the mysteries of life, or at least figuring out what to have for dinner, we find ourselves pulled away by the siren call of yet another cat video or meme. It's like trying to read a gripping novel while someone repeatedly yells breaking news in your ear. Before you know it, you're knee-bent deep in an Instagram rabbit hole, questioning if anyone ever really needs to see that many pictures of avocado toast. So here we are, scrolling mindlessly through endless feeds while our brilliant ideas float away like balloons at a kid's birthday party. Gone but never forgotten. Then there's the education system, a wild ride that often feels like it's stuck in a time warp, where teaching has morphed from nurturing critical thinkers into an elaborate game of who can memorize the most useless facts, like your pronouns. Seriously, if I had $1 for every time a student recited the dates of battlefield fought in 1812 instead of discussing why they happened, I could fund my own school, one where we teach kids how to think for themselves while simultaneously mastering the art of pizza making. It makes you wonder, are we really preparing students to become innovative problem solvers, or are we just cramming their brains full of information so they can pass tests designed by people who probably think critical thinking is a new flavor of ice cream? You know, the kind that looks good on paper but melts away when faced with real-world challenges. Instead of encouraging discussions about ethics or creativity, we're handing out flashcards like they're golden tickets to success, as if knowing who discovered America is going to help them navigate the complexities of adult life. So, here's hoping our future leaders can not only recite facts but also ponder life's big questions, like why pizza is always better at 2 a.m. Ah, the leftist agenda, a topic that stirs up more debate than pineapple on pizza. It seems our schools have traded in traditional teaching for a master class in indoctrination, because who needs to learn about Shakespeare when you can dive into the intricacies of personal pronouns? Imagine this, your English teacher, armed with a red pen and a rainbow flag, suddenly pauses mid-lesson to ask you what your pronouns are. If they're looking for validation rather than vocabulary, we might want to question their qualifications in both English and biology. And let's not forget math. If you declare yourself as they, them, and your teacher nods approvingly without a hint of confusion over the plural form, it's time to wonder if they should be calculating anything more complex than a tip at dinner. Meanwhile, boys sauntering into girls' locker rooms while they own the place. Let's just say there's a list for that, and it's starting to look longer than the average grocery receipt. In this new brave world of educational priorities, one has to wonder, where did basic grammar go? Perhaps it's off to join common sense for a well-deserved vacation. Let's not forget about our environment, folks. I mean, who doesn't love a good whiff of the smog with their morning coffee? But seriously, pollution, the questionable contents of our snacks. I'm looking at you, mystery meat. And even our stress levels can play a sneaky role in how our brains function. Picture this, if we could create a healthier environment, perhaps one where kale actually tastes like pizza and fresh air is as common as cat videos on the internet, we could unlock sharper minds and laser-like focus. Imagine brainstorming sessions where no one falls asleep mid-sentence or trying to remember why you walked into the room doesn't turn into a full-blown existential crisis. If we all just took a moment to ditch the junk food and go for a stroll in a park instead of scrolling through social media, hey, it's hard. We might just find ourselves channeling our inner Einsteins. So let's roll up our sleeves, give Mother Nature a hug, because she's the only one who can keep our brains from feeling like overcooked spaghetti. And speaking of focus, social media has turned our communication skills into a game of rapid-fire text exchange that resemble a high-stakes ping-pong match. Only instead of rackets, we wield emojis and memes like they're the lifelines on a sinking ship. Gone are the days when a thoughtful discussion can stretch on for hours, fueled by coffee and philosophical musings. Now, we're lucky if our conversations don't devolve into LOL and an endless string of cat videos. Back in my day, LOL was ha-ha, and that's how we spelled it, ha-ha. This is seismic shift in how we connect can feel like trading a sumptuous 5-course meal for a vending machine snack. Sure, it's quick and convenient, but you end up with an empty feeling and maybe some regret for not savoring the delicious souffle of ideas. That sounds deep, doesn't it? Yeah, I wrote that. As we swipe through life at a lightning speed, our ability to engage deeply with concepts and each other takes a hit. It's as if we all collectively decided that depth is overrated and brevity is king. So here's to hoping we can find a way to break free from our digital shackles and rediscover the joy of lengthy debates over whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Never! Because if we can't even agree on that, what hope do we have for tackling the big issues? The implications are indeed profound, like realizing our favorite pair of socks has a hole right where you're about to meet your crush. A decline in collective intelligence doesn't just hamper our problem-solving capabilities. It's like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions and only a vague memory of how it should look. We end up with a lopsided bookshelf that can barely hold our collection of motivational cat posters. Innovation gets stifled faster than a balloon at a porcupine convention, leaving us stuck in the dark ages, where the most exciting invention is still the wheel. Let's not forget social cohesion. Without it, we might as well be a group of cats trying to form an orderly queue, utter chaos. Instead of coming together to solve problems and create groundbreaking ideas, we risk evolving into a world where everyone argues over who gets the last slice of pizza instead of brainstorming the next big thing. So let's rally our collective brain power before we all end up using our phones to calculate how many times we've hit snooze on our alarms instead of solving real-world dilemmas. When communities struggle to think critically and collaboratively, they become less equipped to address the complex challenges that define our era. Kind of like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without the instructions. Everyone's holding a hex key, but no one knows what it's for. Take climate change, for instance. Tackling this pressing global issue requires a united front. We need more than just a few well-meaning folks planting trees on Arbor Day. It demands creative solutions that are diverse at topping on a pizza buffet because, let's face it, one-size-fits-all strategies are about effective as using a paper towel to put out a grease fire. And communism is not the answer to global warming. By pulling together the myriad perspectives of scientists, activists, we don't need activists, and even that neighbor who insists on talking to their houseplants, we can develop effective strategies for sustainability. After all, we can collaborate to decide whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. Surely we can come together to save our planet from becoming a giant sauna. No, we can't. When it's our time to go, we're just going to go. So let's roll up our sleeves, throw in some humor, and get cracking on those solutions before Mother Nature decides she's had enough of our shenanigans. Similarly, public health crises like pandemics call for swift, coordinated responses that rely on shared knowledge and resources. Most of us tried to put out that knowledge, and we're censored. So it's almost as if we're all part of an overly dramatic reality show titled Survivor Global Edition, when instead of building alliances to grab immunity idol, we need to share data faster than Aunt Gertrude shares her latest conspiracy theories at Thanksgiving dinner. We all pretty much knew you shouldn't send old people back to a nursing home if they have COVID because they were the highest risk population. If we find ourselves less sharp than previous generations, perhaps too busy binge-watching cat videos or mastering the art of sourdough baking, we risk falling behind in our efforts to confront these critical issues. These are the people that are over on Grumpy's page. The people who sit and watch cat videos all day, CNN and MSNBC, and then feel they are experts on a given topic. This could potentially lead to ineffective policies and missed opportunities for improvement, like trying to fix a leaky faucet with duct tape while your house is slowly filling with water. So let's sharpen those wits and collaborate. After all, when it comes to tackling pandemics, this pandemic's over. We can't afford to be the guy who shows up at a gunfight with a spoon, unless, of course, it's a very special spoon that doubles as a multi-tool. Ultimately, a decline in collective intelligence could result in a fragmented society where collaboration becomes as elusive as finding a needle in a haystack. If you're driving around in your car alone with a mask on, there's no need to collaborate with you. You're not going to have a good idea. Picture this. So I'm going to call it a night. I wrote this script way too long. Basically, what it says, the study is saying, thanks to social media and the horrible schools that we've put out recently, people are getting dumber. Just go over to Grumpy's last video, and you can see perfect examples of what's going on. This was an experiment in how to do this podcast. I think I need to go back to experiment with different methods to put together my content. But yeah, I'm going to call it a night. It's been 2 hours, over 2 hours. This will be up on Spotify as well. So come over to Spotify. You can listen to it there. One last commercial. I just put out some new books, so hopefully this is the right commercial.
Have you ever wondered how a single moment can change the course of your life? What if that moment was sparked by the legendary Bruce Lee? Today, we're diving into an incredible journey, a journey that began at just 13 years old and evolved into a lifelong passion for martial arts. Buckle up as we explore the captivating world of martial arts through my 4-book series. It all started with a dream. My dream to embody the spirit and philosophy of Bruce Lee. His legacy inspired me to step onto the mat and begin my exploration of various martial arts disciplines. But it was Kenpo karate where I truly found my calling. After years of training, I proudly earned my black belt, Yondan, or 4th degree black belt. This achievement was not just about mastering techniques, it was about understanding the philosophy behind each move. Every style contributed uniquely to my development. Did you know that Kenpo emphasizes fluidity and adaptability? The first volume dives deep into the rich history and philosophy behind martial arts. It's packed with captivating stories and insightful quotes that guide us through life's complexities. Explore how martial arts teaches resilience. In Volume 2, we break down essential fundamentals, from powerful punches to defensive stances. These basics are reinforced throughout all volumes for solid skill building. Remember, practice consistently to see improvement. Moving on to Volume 3, we introduce brown belt self-defense techniques, because being prepared is half the battle. Try these techniques safely at home or in class. And finally, Volume 4 emphasizes mastering those basics. They are crucial for advancing into Dragon Kenpo 2.0. The pinnacle includes advanced techniques required for instructor certification, represented by the coveted red belt. Common questions answered. What if I'm starting from scratch? No worries. Each volume is designed for beginners too. How long does it take to earn a black belt? It varies, but dedication is key. My journey through martial arts has been transformative, not just physically but mentally too. I invite you all to embark on this path alongside me through my books. Remember, your journey begins with one step. What will yours be? If you're excited about exploring martial arts or have any questions about my books, comment below, like this video, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content. Join our community as we continue this incredible journey together.
So I'm going to call it a night. That's been over 2 hours. I could probably go for another 4 because I have more content here, but I think I'm going to have to experiment with how I put out the content. But again, this podcast is, I think, more professional and more informative, although long-winded. Again, you people can call in. You can use live chat. You can leave me messages too in either Facebook or Instagram. I'll read them on air. I don't care. Or play them on there. You can use a voice message. Unfortunately, we don't get X here, so I can't put X posts up here. But anyway, I'm going to call this a night. I'll see you next Saturday, where I'll pick up where I left off, which is, no, I'm not in welfare, voting responsibility, no more Alzheimer's patients. Did you know American crop prices are plummeting and turning ignorance into insight, a new approach to debating. But hopefully I'll see you next Saturday, and we'll pick up where we left off. So y'all have a good week, and I hope to see you next weekend.
World's on fire, cables melt. Guess the words, the truth. Just a rise in your face. Rip apart this broken place. Microphones and better lights. We turn the